Everybody, good evening. It's Brent Axe with you here. We are back here on the Syracuse Orange Basketball Facebook page, and we are coming to you thanks to our friends at Krause Health, and we are coming to you live after Syracuse beats Niagara to go to 2-0 on the 2020-21 season. And boy, it has been a wild 24 hours or so as we speak here for Syracuse basketball, both the men's team and the women's team, as last night, so we're talking on Thursday night, Wednesday night, the Syracuse women's basketball team had to move their game at the last minute to the Mello Center, the practice facility for both Syracuse men's basketball and Syracuse women's basketball, because they found some condensation on the court. It was initially thought that the roof had leaked, the brand new roof at the Carrier Dome, a $118 million renovation. Now, it turned out the roof did not leak. It was just condensation, but the roof has leaked. It leaked after a Syracuse football game against Duke earlier this season. So the women moved to the Mello Center, thought it was just going to be a scrimmage. They actually turned it into an official win. So we get about 24 hours later, just past 6 p.m. tonight here on Thursday, and we learn via a statement from Syracuse University that a player has tested positive for COVID-19 on the roster. Syracuse guard Buddy Boeheim is in quarantine currently. He was part of contact tracing among that. He did not test positive for COVID-19, but at the start of this game, we find out Syracuse is going to be without Buddy Boeheim. Most of the other contributors on this team, Chaz Owens also not available, but he was somebody who was really not going to be a contributor anyway for this team. So everybody else that needed to be there was there. But tonight was a night that Syracuse did not need Buddy Boeheim. And this is going to be an interesting discussion going forward for Syracuse. Who gets time in that backcourt? Because Kadary Richmond had one heck of not really a debut because he played Friday night against Bryant, but a coming out party for sure for Kadary Richmond. That a big story in this one. Quincy Guerrier, though, drops the hammer, his second straight double-double for Syracuse. Quincy with 23 points and 13 rebounds on the evening. All told, Syracuse wins 75-45. Great to be here with you. Just a reminder that if you do miss this chat live, we come on with you shortly after the game ends here on Facebook Live. We do put this on YouTube. You can find it on the Syracuse Orange Sports YouTube page. I put it in my recap on syracuse.com. And coming soon, we're going to be in some other formats live, expanding to Twitter and YouTube and a couple other things. We're working on that, and we'll be with you on those formats shortly with this live post game. But you can always, pardon me, you can always find it on YouTube the next day if you want to watch it then. So, big thing for Syracuse tonight. Let's give credit where it's due, and that is Quincy Guerrier. Quincy Guerrier is showing, and we saw flashes of this last year, certainly, right? But this is a guy that had to get used to playing in the zone defense, had to get used to big-time college basketball, had to get used to a lot of things. You look at when Syracuse played Niagara a year ago, it was actually the last non-conference game of the season. He really struggled in the paint. He struggled defensively against Niagara. Niagara has actually kept that game close a year ago, got in the paint. They won the points in the paint department. I don't think they ever really threatened to win the game, but they were just in it throughout to make you nervous enough. And Syracuse won that game 71-57. They won tonight 75-45. What a world of difference between the Quincy Guerrier in that game and the Quincy Guerrier in this game. 23 points and 13 rebounds. Just dominant. Actually stepped back, hit a three-pointer in this game, but crashing the boards, aggressive offensively, and really showing the player he can be. And I understand the opponent that was out there tonight, but this is what Quincy Guerrier can be. It's huge if he's turning into that player now because Barama Sidibe is out for a month, and Syracuse needs some paint presence. They need some inside presence. It was Quincy's first start, and boy, did he deliver tonight. So props to him. But I think the big story that really comes out of this game is the play of freshman Kadary Richmond. He had 16 points, and let's go through this box score. 16 points, 7 rebounds on the night, 6 assists, 3 blocks, and 4 steals. And I think what is going to happen here is Kadary Richmond is going to push for playing time. He is going to force Jim Boeheim's hand here. And with Kadary, I just gave you the all-around play. He made some amazing plays in this game, but it's not just the offensive presence. He can glide through the lane. Talking about a 6'5" guard here. Kind of reminds, he's bigger than Johnny Flynn, but reminds of Johnny Flynn. Reminds of a player who's not afraid to get inside, attack the paint a little bit, get inside and attack the rim. But as we noted there with the assists, made some great passes in this game. Lob pass to Woody Newton, another freshman who came out there and had an impressive performance for Syracuse in his debut tonight, getting an opportunity to play with the roster ticked down a little bit with Buddy's absence. But Kadary, great passing, great defense, just a presence out there and a confidence. And look, the one thing that's always going to keep you off the court, particularly as a young player, is defense. I'm as curious as anybody to see how Kadary Richmond plays defense against some of the better teams on the roster. But in a game like this, a game on Saturday against Rider, where you just want these guys to get comfortable, get in the flow, Syracuse got out there. They had the COVID test announced before the game, but in a kind of a normal setting, if you will, where they had some real practices leading up to that game, unlike the Bryant game last week. Kadary Richmond is going to push Joe Girard and Buddy Boeheim for time. And given his size at the top of the zone, his explosive play, he looks impressive, right? So, and Joe Girard struggled again tonight. Just to give you his numbers here, we'll go through all of them here, but Joe had 8 points on the night. He went 1 of 6 from three-point range. He went 3 of 11 shooting the ball overall, and that's his bread and butter. If Joe's not hitting threes, and Syracuse didn't really need to hit threes in this game because the inside game was working so well, but that's his bread and butter. It's not like Joe brings anything to the table overwhelmingly in terms of defense or some other spots on the floor. He plays hard, he's a leader, guts it out, hit a couple of big shots for Syracuse against Bryant. And look, I think Joe Girard is obviously going to have a big role on this team. But it's interesting that Girard took Jalen Carey's place after just 2 games a year ago, because he was just the better player, right? Remember the whole short leash thing with Jalen Carey and Boeheim and yours truly? Kadary Richmond looks like he's the better player. Like, just if you just put him up toe-to-toe talent-wise, Kadary Richmond's a better player. So at the very least, he's going to push, and he's going to make Jim Boeheim make some decisions here. And Jim saying in his post-game press conference, I was watching a little bit before we came on here, saying he took advantage of his time. So there's a lot of games to be played here, but it is clear Kadary is talented, and he is going to push for more minutes as we go here. A couple other stats to throw at you individually. Alan Griffin, 10 points on the night, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. Had a tough shooting night. Went 3 of 13 overall, but I think we've seen that Alan Griffin's going to have an important role on this team. He started tonight as well with Barama and Buddy out of the lineup. Marek Dolezaj in the middle, 7 points, 10 rebounds on the night for him as he takes on that center role with, of course, Barama Sidibe out for about a month here. And just to go over some other highlights, a bunch of guys got in, as we mentioned. Woody Newton was impressive, comes in at his Syracuse debut, 9 points, 5 rebounds on the night for him. And shooting wise, got to the rim, had a couple of nice dunks, had a couple of nice defensive plays, showing that all-around talent. And Syracuse emptied the bench. John Bolajak got out there, whatever bench they had. Not a lot of players available tonight, right? Robert Braswell came in tonight. Had a couple of nice plays, including a dunk in the middle. Frank Anselm, the freshman who's been getting a little bit of buzz here in the early part of the season, got in as well. So Jim Boeheim able to empty his bench a little bit. Jesse Edwards didn't play much, but did get out there and play. Looking at a couple of key team stats in this game, Niagara, like most teams that come in these non-conference games, had a plan to shoot the 3, but the plan did not come together. 6 of 36 for the Fighting Greg Paulus's from three-point range. Syracuse was 5 of 23, but didn't really need to shoot the 3 tonight. And Joe Girard with 11 of those attempts, only making, on the three-point side of things, he was 3 of 11 shooting overall. Just to jump back here and look, Girard from three-point range, right, just 1 of 6 on the evening there. So from the free throw line, Syracuse was 16 of 21. That's 76%. And that's another interesting thing with this game. Syracuse didn't commit a lot of fouls, just 6 free throw attempts, for Niagara on the whole night. Syracuse dominated on the boards, 51 to 31. That was actually a lot closer last year, so nice recovery for Syracuse on that front. Points off turnover, Syracuse had 22 points off of 17 Niagara turnovers. Syracuse did turn the ball over 16 times. If you want to nitpick a couple of things from this game, they need to work on. Points on the paint. Now, Niagara last year used that small lineup to aggravate Syracuse inside. Not the case this time. Syracuse dominant in points in the paint by a mark of 40-22. So, hey, that's what I have to say. Let's see what you guys have to say in the comments here. Hello, Chris. Good to see you, and happy holidays to you as well. Thomas saying that Kadary should start alongside Buddy. Joe Girard is, if anything, Joe Girard knows he has got some competition now in that backcourt, and we'll see what happens when Buddy Boeheim comes back. So Buddy is not going to play Saturday against Ryder, and he will not play Tuesday night against Rutgers either, per COVID protocols. He has to go into quarantine for 7 days. He did not test positive. I want to reiterate that, but did come in contact with somebody who tested positive. Jim Boeheim saying that it was a walk-on that tested positive for the Orange. They've done over 600 tests. Two players have tested positive, and one head coach, Jim Boeheim, of course, had to go into isolation for a bit. So this is tricky, but why did Syracuse play tonight? I haven't seen any questions on this yet, but let's discuss that shortly. Syracuse has these, and I'm going to outkick my coverage here on this. I'm not an expert on this stuff, but here's what I do know. Syracuse has these wristbands that they wear, and a lot of teams in college basketball are doing this. And basically what happens is when you're on the practice court, these wristbands register when you're within 6 feet of somebody else. So the coaches can look at this data after a practice and know that they can follow CDC protocols. They can follow ACC protocols about the time you can be close to somebody. They do wear masks at practice at times, and they're doing everything they can to just play, get on the court this year. I saw tonight that Louisville had a positive test and will not play tomorrow night. So what's the difference between their situation and this one? Well, state regulations are different. Jim Boeheim was noting in his post-game press conference that he was having a conversation with Dr. Indu Gupta, who is the Onondaga County Health Commissioner, about these procedures. Onondaga County seemed to sign off on it. So why was Syracuse allowed to play if there was a positive test? Well, they looked at the circumstances. Who was the player? How much contact did he have with other players? The data from these wristbands that registers the contact that they have apparently was good enough to get out there. And most of the scholarship players and regulars were out there, short of Buddy Boeheim, as we mentioned. But Boeheim had close enough contact with that player who tested positive that he now has to go into quarantine for 7 days. So with 3 games in 6 days, it takes him out of 3 games, tonight, Saturday, and Rutgers. Now, if he tests positive, he's got to go into isolation and will be out a little longer than that. But as of now, that's his situation. Going back to the comments, Dustin's in Kentucky. Hello, Dustin. Always love to see where everybody's checking in from tonight. Joe saying Girard's not good. He shouldn't be getting the minutes he does, let alone be the starter. Look, Joe is a good player. He can shoot. But does he have some deficiencies defensively? He does. Does he have to prove that he can do some things on other parts of the court? Yes. Is Kadary Richmond looking like he's just a more talented player top to bottom than Joe? Yes. I mean, let's just be honest. That's what we saw tonight. So it's going to be interesting where those loyalties lie. Jim has fiercely defended Joe Girard for his ability to score, his ability to play both positions in the backcourt, leadership, guts, glory. He's a great free throw shooter. That's somebody you want on the floor in those tight spots down the stretch. But there's no question he's going to get a little push here from Kadary Richmond. Both him and Buddy are going to get a push. Our friend Microphone Checka saying good rebounding. Look at Richmond at the top of that zone. Look really good. Eddie says, hey, Brent, what do you think of Girard looking stuck in the mud up and down the court and just not being a good player at the top of the zone? See, you guys are making a great point here. Jim Boeheim has said time and time again that, if you can't play defense, that's probably your quickest ticket off the floor. Joe Girard's not a good defender. He's at least not a good defender in the sense of that's what saves him and puts him on the court. Richmond's bigger, and he's young. He's got to learn the rotations of the zone, where to move his feet, but he's talented. This is a top 100 prospect that Syracuse has, and he's going to push. So what Joe does to stay on the floor, and he has a role on this team, but does he have to play, I don't know, what's the cutoff, 33, 34 minutes a game? It's maybe looking like not, and Jim's going to have to go on that bench, and you play your best players, right? And if Woody Newton continues to look this good too, mind you, it's Niagara, and let's bear that in mind here. But talent's talent, and if these guys prove they need some minutes, maybe we're going to see that rotation expanded a little bit. Famous last words, right, when it comes to talking Syracuse basketball. Brian saying should have fed Marek a little bit more, but overall good direction after Bryant. Definitely a marked difference from the Bryant game. They had come off of 12 days with no practice, one practice on Thanksgiving, and then a crazy game. This looked like a more organized, more confident team that knew where they were going. Marek now in the middle permanently until Barama Sidibe comes back. So that changes the dynamic a little bit. Marek's a great passer, and you want the ball to flow through him as much as possible. But I think tonight he was kind of getting used to his new role and grabbed 10 rebounds. He's always going to find something on that court to contribute, right? Blake's watching from Houston, saying he loves Kadary's game. He's got a little pearl in his game, both from Brooklyn as well. Needs to play 30 to 35 minutes. Great defense, top of the zone. Now, again, let's keep in mind this is Niagara, who had a 6'2" and a 6'3" guard at the top of the zone. Two good players coming back from last year's Niagara team. But Kadary's got talent. There's no question about it. And he is going to be the story out of this game and a player people are going to be keeping a very close eye on here in his Syracuse career. Matt saying, let's chat some role players tonight. Small sample size, but good to see other players. Richmond, love what he did defensively. Braswell appears to be trying hard to get points. And Newton, nice energy and could provide a quick energy boost, but Boeheim won't go there. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Newton took advantage of his time tonight, at least showing, hey, give me a look, coach. Because we weren't hearing a lot about Woody Newton. He wasn't expected to contribute that much, but things have changed. Barama's out for a period of time. Buddy's out for a period of time. He gets the window to play, and at least tonight, really show what he can do. Kadary Richmond, Scott says, the Swiss Army knife. Yeah, you look at that stat sheet tonight. He was doing a little bit of everything out there. Matt and a bunch of you talking about Quincy's great game. Look, I think Quincy Guerrier has the opportunity to be one of the best forwards in the ACC. I really do. He had the talent. He certainly has the size. What he needed was the confidence in the zone, which is coming. And now he feels he's not quite 100% recovered from that groin surgery, but about 90% there, as he told us in a Zoom session a few days ago. This is an impressive player who's just coming into his own. And just being down in the paint like that, knowing how much space you occupy, reacting to rebounds, the confidence, the quickness to go in on these shots, his fundamentals are rounding out. Like, we are seeing who could be one of the big breakout players in the ACC here in his sophomore season. I'm a big Quincy Guerrier fan. He kind of had to gut through it, but you can finally see the light bulb kind of coming on. You can see his gears turning a little bit, and he is turning into a very, very confident player, and I can't wait to see more of him. Dave mentioning that Woody was a great two guard. It was interesting because Griffin played a little bit of the two tonight. Woody Newton. The lineup changes and the possibilities there, even with only, 10 scholarship players available to Jim, with Buddy and Barama down at this point. And you can get that. Josh makes it a good point here, too, saying this was Niagara's first game. They weren't ready to go. That should be factored in there. They had their own COVID pause as well. This was essentially Syracuse's first game, though. Yeah, they played Bryant on Friday night, but this was their first game, and as normal as you can be in 2020, kind of a normal build-up and rhythm to it, and I think it shows. Matt noting that JB likes Joe Girard, completely different scenario than last year with Carey. Carey was JB's dog, which made it easy for him to switch. He favors Joe Girard, so he'll limit his minutes if Richmond is clearly better. I think it's a fair question. I really do. You get in Boeheim's doghouse, and it's hard to get out of it. And for whatever reason, Jalen Carey he would make one mistake and would be out of there. Whereas Girard can go 0 for 11 and stay in the game. And he's proven he can hit some big shots and have some big scoring opportunities. And he's the type of player that Boeheim likes because he's a smart kid. He's a smart basketball player. He's a grinder, right? He's earned a lot of brownie points, if you will, in Jim Boeheim's world. So Joe's going to play. But if Kadary keeps proving he belongs on the court, he's going to be on the court. Like, Jim's not that indebted to Joe that he won't play Kadary if Kadary continues to impress like this. But with Boeheim, it's always about defense. You got to have presence in that zone, but Kadary's just a bigger player, and that's a weakness at the top of the zone. If you've got Kadary at 6'5", along with Buddy, who's 6'6", and Buddy's a weak defender too, but at least if you got the size up there at the top of the zone, that's when it works the best. Mike's in El Paso. Thanks for checking in there. Hi, Mary Ellen, saying that Syracuse looked much better prepared tonight. Nice to see the rest of the team get in. Hope that the bench will play more this year. We'll see about that. Jim tends to kind of bear down on that rotation, 7-8 guys. Matt's checking in from chilly San Antonio. I got a couple inches of snow outside my window. I don't know if it's that chilly down there, but chilly for San Antonio standards, right? Let's see. Just reacting to a couple more of you. Kevin in Flowery Branch, Georgia, saying the regional sports network streaming situation stinks. Had to grab an AT&T 7-day trial to see the game. Glad I didn't miss this one, though, as the Bryant game really had me worried. Yeah, that whole thing with when it's on the regional sports network and you're taking chances about what channel is it on. I personally have YouTube TV, and the one sports channel they don't carry is the Yes Network, which a bunch of Syracuse games are on. There's Fox Sports Go. There's ways to get it, but watch ESPN. We'll black out the games. Look, we've got chances here. Not to pull up back in my day, but back in my day, if the game wasn't on TV, it wasn't on TV. At least there's some way you can get it, the online stream, but it can be a frustrating situation. And the broadcasters on that channel are not always the best. They got a tough gig right now because there's no fans in the building, but can be frustrating. But look into Fox Sports Go, look into watch ESPN. There are ways to get the game if you didn't get it locally. But yeah, to grab a 7-day trial and all these things, I'm not the best with technology sometimes, but it can be frustrating, right? But at least there are some opportunities. We always do a post here on syracuse.com how to watch the game, and it's got all those choices there. So just look into that, find the best option for you. Matt saying, Brent, if you had access to practice, what have you seen Richmond versus Joe Girard? We have not had access to practice, Matt, because of obvious reasons, COVID. Even in the last couple of years, Syracuse was limiting media access to like the first 20 minutes of practice. So we have not seen practice. I'm not sure how that's going. From what I've heard, though, there has been a ton of buzz about Kadary Richmond, and he's kind of lapping Joe Girard from people that have been at practice and have kind of expressed that to me. I haven't seen it myself, but there's certainly been a lot of buzz on Kadary and what he's doing. A couple of you mentioning it with he looks like MCW. It's another great comparison. But eventually it looks like this kid's going to kind of carve his own name out. Because it's interesting because Alan Griffin gets compared to Elijah Hughes and filling that Elijah Hughes role. But I think Griffin is already starting to separate himself in the type of player he is. But they are in such similar roles at this point. I think Kadary Richmond, it's natural to say he looks like a Johnny Flynn, looks like an MCW, that type of player. But he looks like he's going to kind of establish his own brand here sooner rather than later. Mike asking, is there any news on fans at the Dome? The latest news would be not how can I phrase this? Not anytime soon, right? Given the uptick of cases here in central New York, there's different zones up here in New York. I'm not sure how they do it where you are, Mike, and other states out there, but most of Syracuse and central New York is ironically in an orange zone per New York state regulations. So until the numbers come down a little bit and the vaccine's on the way, it appears there's light at the end of the tunnel here. But I wouldn't count on fans getting back into the Dome. Boy, what is it, early December here? Boy, I would at least another couple months. That's just an estimate on my part, but by the time numbers get under control, vaccines start getting handed out, I think they're going to let the students in first. When the students come back in late January, I think they're going to try that out, spaced out and everything. I mean, the building is certainly big enough to space fans out, but I would anticipate fans will be in the building at some point this season before Syracuse wraps up, but not looking good anytime soon at this point. New York's, really got some tough regulations up here. And Matt noting, and we'll close on this note, that new scoreboard is looking good. Yeah, and speaking of the fans, the new lighting in the Dome, the scoreboard, when the fans really get to experience that, it is a game changer. It's incredible what they've done there. So I think we'll end on that note for tonight. Programming note, everybody, there will not be a basketball post-game chat on Saturday. There will be a football post-game chat. So I'm going to do the football post-game chat over on the Syracuse football page. Okay, so we'll do that as normal. and then I've got some writing to do and a couple other things. So all told, I'm on football duty on Saturday. So there will not be a basketball post game on Saturday. There will be a basketball post game Tuesday after Syracuse plays Rutgers, and that's a late night game for us here on the East Coast anyway at 9:30. So it'll be late night with the Axeman Tuesday night as after Syracuse takes on Rutgers. Okay, so keep that in mind. No hoops chat on Saturday night, but we'll be back at it here Tuesday after Syracuse takes on Rutgers in the ACC Big Ten Challenge. Thanks to Krause Health. Thanks to you for hanging with us today. Appreciate it. And just a reminder, if you do miss these live, we put them up on our YouTube page, Syracuse Orange Sports, and in my recap at syracuse.com. Enjoy the rest of your night. Enjoy your weekend. We'll talk to you again soon here Saturday after Syracuse Notre Dame football. Next basketball chat will be Tuesday night after the Orange take on Rutgers.